This is a note to Drew Brees. I saw what you said, and I was kind of taken aback because, you see, my father and my grandfather both fought in World War I and World War II and couldn't vote in this country. They fought for this country but couldn't vote in this country. So the privilege that one has when one says, well, my grandfathers fought for the freedoms to do whatever we needed to do in this country, always knocks me out, because so did my grandfather and my father. And we didn't have the freedom to vote, but we lived here, and so we fought for it. So when you say people disrespecting the flag, you know, I guess I just need you to understand that your family fighting for the rights in this country and my family fighting for the same rights in this country did not equal the same treatment. So you can sort of connect, you know, getting on a knee if you want to with the military and all that, but that's not what this is about. This is about the promise of America that all of our fathers and grandfathers fought for, that only some of us have recognized and reaped the rewards of. Just saying. I still think you're a hell of a football player, by the way. So I'm, again, sitting and watching everything, and I wonder, it occurs to me that every criminal knows that if you injure a cop, if you shoot a cop, you hurt a cop, you punch a cop, there are huge consequences. But I wonder if we need to change that so that if a civilian dies in your custody, it is the same as shooting a cop. If civilians are harmed in your custody, the same way that if a police officer is hit, goes down, there should be consequences. And I think that mostly because if there are ways for us to level the playing field, because people feel like, you're a criminal, I can take you in the back and rough you up and beat you up. And maybe they'll think twice in the way that they do it. Maybe they'll find a different way to do it. And also, you know, think about it. If there's a change in how people deal with the police, it should be because we're on equal footing. You're wearing, a police officer is wearing a camera now. And so for those people who would abuse that and want to make it like, you know, hey, look at what he did to me. Well, that's a good reason for the officers to have their cameras on, to show what they did. And maybe if we're able to put each other on equal footing, there'll be more respect. And particularly, you know, as white people now are seeing, because they're being forced to look at something that, you know, people feel they see, but now it's a different kind of feel. It's a different kind of feel. It's a different kind of feel for anyone who isn't black to walk these streets every night, to protest and have the response that they're getting. People are coming out and saying, you know what, this is enough. Enough is enough. Parents, moms, and dads are walking with their kids, which is another reason why all you looters, you need to stop. Because you've destroyed too many people's dreams around the country. You have made it impossible for a lot of people to get back to their lives. So I want, please, you know I don't mean shit, but I'm just saying, all you looters, just know your grandmother, your mother's mother, your brother's sister, your cousin's baby can't get their medication because you burned down the pharmacy or you burned down the bus stop. But getting away from that right now, I'm just saying maybe better background checks on the people who want to become police officers, because, you know, that's a big job to hand somebody a gun. So I would rather know that their state of mind is good, and force this idea of having to talk to somebody about it. There's nothing wrong with realizing you're overwhelmed. I can't imagine that cops on the front line right now are not overwhelmed, but they're talking to each other and they're talking to the demonstrators, and and they're saying the things that people need to hear, like what happened in Minnesota was unconscionable, and we don't want to be that to you. We don't ever want to be that to you. Let us start this conversation. That's meaningful change. Because when the police recognize that there is a problem, we'll be able to change it. And now people are saying, we see it, I hear it, I understand it. There are lots of little tiny police departments all over the country. And yeah, there's always going to be those folks that go, well, we don't care. But you will, because if it becomes a federal law where it's just as bad to rough up and kill a pedestrian in your care as it is to smack a cop, shoot a cop, kill a cop, then we're on equal footing. That's not a bad thing, to be on equal footing. Yeah, it's me again. I also thought, wouldn't it be great if the pharmaceutical companies got together and created something called the Pharmacy Alliance, which gave money to all of the pharmacies around the country that were burned and looted so they could get themselves back up and on track with the medications that people need. Because it's one of those things, pharmacies are essential places of work. We must have the pharmacy, or you can't get anything you need. You can't get your stomach medicine, your cancer medicine, your birth control pills. You can't get any of your needs if the pharmacies are all burnt down and have nothing in them. I just think the pharmaceutical company could, actually be seen as something great instead of this horrible group of people who don't seem to care about the drugs that they give. Maybe this is a way to make it better. Come on, Big Pharma. You can do this. You can do this. I know you can. You can do it for big places and you can do it for little places, but you need to do it for the mom and pops first, because it is impossible for folks to get what they need without this kind of help. Just a thought. So I've been up pretty much most of the night watching all of the protests and the rioting that went on all over the country. And this is what occurs to me. If you burn everything down and tear everything down, we still have to come up with a solution to how to make sure we never have to watch another black man being murdered on television. How do we get rid of that? What do we do? Because burning stuff down doesn't seem to be the answer. I looked at what was happening in Los Angeles, and I kept thinking, doesn't anybody realize that some family saved up all their money to open up a nail shop, and now it's burnt to the ground, or it's emptied or destroyed, and they've been closed for 9-10 weeks. So the possibility of them being able to come back and go to work is probably gone. And then I look at all the places in Colorado and Miami, and I just keep thinking, what is the end game here? Because I don't think this is what George Floyd would have wanted. I don't think, or maybe I'm wrong, but did anybody ask his family what they needed people to do and how they needed people to respond? Did anybody ask the Floyd family this? Did anybody say to the Floyd family, hey, what can we do for you? How can we help get this word out? Because I gotta tell you,
after you do all of this, what's the next step? What's the end game? Because this doesn't help anybody. This just makes it hard for people who have handicaps and have hard time getting around the cities. Makes it hard for them. Because now stuff is closed, streets are closed, and not because you can have a restaurant eating experience, but because the buildings have been burned down. And what about the supermarkets and the people who spent their lives trying to save up enough to have a franchise? Guys, this is not the answer. This is not the answer. We need to sit down and take a step back. We need to take a step back. And I get it. Because from Central Park to George Floyd, to the young lady Breonna who was shot in her apartment, to just name it, it is endless stories of Black people being taken out for no reason, being shot just for running. And it doesn't help that the person in the White House is stirring the pot quite a bit. But then we just buy right into it. I think, personally, everybody should stop and take a beat and figure out what is the end game. What is it we are trying to do? Because I tell you, more nights with scared children is not a good night. It's just not what you want. It's not what you want. And yeah, I believe in my heart all of those officers are going down for murder. I mean, you can't call it anything else but what it is. The man sat on his neck, and there were cops there who didn't say a word, who knew better. So this is one of those things where you would think this is cut and dry. But part of the reason people are pissed is because things that should be cut and dry never are. Maybe this is crazy, and maybe I'm asking stupid questions, but I just want to know, what is the end game?